airing every Friday at 5 o'clock. And I have to say this: I had to fight for that as well because that was one of the battles that I had to fight because Donnie just didn't want to have a mix show on Kiss, and I had been there for over a year, and I kept pressing him, and he just didn't want to do it. So finally, one day I was in my car, and this news station hit the air in DC, WPGC, and
Oh,
they were playing mixes. And I was driving off Nebraska Avenue in my car, and I heard this mix of Whistle's Barbara's Bedroom. It was mixed with Janet Jackson's The Pleasure Principle. That mix just blew me away. And at that moment, I realized that the game had changed in DC. You
right.
know, it had changed, and I realized I had to have another battle with Donnie because we had to get a mix show on Kiss. So I went in the next day and I just told him, I said, Donnie, man, they are mixing on this new station, and that's the thing that we really need to do. And I was finally able to talk him into let me do a mix show, and that was the Kiss Friday Afternoon Traffic Jam.
But Greg, what do you think was his main reason for not
Well,
embracing mix shows?
I understand it
Was it
because
about control?
no, I can tell you exactly what I feel, and because when Donnie came to be programmed, when he came to DC, Kiss was Disco '93. They were playing disco music, and
Okay.
Donnie was a jock. Then something happened, and he became the program director. So, and if you all remember, I think it was in Chicago where they burned all those disco records. They had this disco record burning. After
Yeah.
that, Donnie changed the format to urban R&B and the Kiss format, and he just had an aversion to club music, dance music.
Right.
That was the real rationale, and he just didn't want the station to be associated with that. So that's what I felt the reason was.
Was he got a question? So if mix shows weren't his bag, how did he feel about hip hop?
He was cool with it. Kiss didn't really embrace hip hop, and I have to shout out DJ Iron and DJ CeeLo and Karma Finley because they were the ones that really pushed me. And well, not really. Donnie was gone at the time. Barbara Prieto was the program
Barbara
director.
Prieto.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Barbara Prieto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Barbara Prieto.
Yeah.
But DJ Iron, DJ CeeLo, and Karma Finley, they would come into Karma in particular, she would come into my office all the time with all of this underground hip hop stuff that she thought we should be playing. And one of the songs was, this wasn't, it was a hit with Hip Hop Array, but it was a whole lot of just songs during that era. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that they helped me when I got to BET and I had to program Rap City.
Now, what songs are you talking about? That
well, they
Hip Hop Hooray by Naughty by Nature?
Yeah, but they had a lot of stuff like Tribe Called Quest and just all the underground stuff.
So are you telling me it took KYS that long to embrace hip hop when Naughty by
Well, no, let me back up. Hip Hop Array wasn't a factor. That was a hit, but I'm talking about the underground stuff.
Right. I'm trying to pinpoint where in hip hop did KYS finally embrace it.
Oh no!
Because at the same time, Eric and I are down in Richmond, Virginia, and we fighting to get hip hop on. Well, okay, it wasn't in regular rotation a great deal, but we were playing it heavy on the weekends around that time, and we have been doing that for years.
At Kiss, we were playing like stuff like Kool Moe Dee, Heavy D, Dougie Fresh, those types.
The safe stuff.
So that's what I'm saying, the safe stuff. And that's what I was saying with Karma and Iron and CeeLo, they were trying to get us to go more underground hip hop.
Right.
A lot of those songs that they suggested did actually end up on Kiss. So I just want to send them a shout out because, like I said, when I got to BET, it really opened me up and it made me more qualified to program Rap City because I was more into the whole vibe of the whole, with the exception of just playing the regular normal hip hop.
And still at that point, DC was still known as being the home of the Quiet Storm. And
Exactly.
that's where it was hugely successful. So it took a little bit longer for it to really embrace hip hop, but once it did, it took
But
off.
like I said, we did play hip hop, but it wasn't like the hardcore hip hop.
Right.
So were you the 6 o'clock hip hop station? You can only play it after 6 p.m.?
Now we played it in day parts. Yeah,
Okay.
we played it. We played it, but like I said, it wasn't a hardcore hip hop.
Right.
Safe stuff.
So around what year is this, Greg? Are you referring to?
Well, we actually, when I first started, we were playing hip hop.
Okay.
Like LL Cool J. That was in '86. But then by the time Barbara got there in '92, that's when it really started to.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Hold on, man. Hold on.
What?
I got somebody that gotta just drop the question on me. You might know him a little bit. He calls himself Bodacious Bo.
Never heard of him.
He said, ask him, is the rumor true that once BET goes up for sale, you gonna buy it?
Well, let me put it like this. I already bought it.
Okay.
Speaking of bodacious, there you go. Bodacious one.
Let me talk about this picture right here.
Talk about it.
Oh, that's a beautiful picture right there.
Since 3 out of the 4 have been on the show now.
Oh my goodness.
But this picture right here represents DC, Washington.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, it does.
Every single person in this picture is like a major representative of Washington, D.C.
Yes.
DJ Cool and Cool and I started off around the same time in DJing, so Cool and I real tight. Cool, Bo Sampson,
Right.
he's Bo Sampson, and then Stacey Laptop. And the only
Where
person
you get that from?
the only person that's missing, in my personal opinion, that I feel that it truly is like one of the people that I know personally that really loves DC and wants to uplift DC is my partner, producer partner, Grover Massenberg.
Mm-hmm.
Grover, he really is a DC brother, and he pushes DC all the time. So if I would put a fifth person in that picture, it would definitely be Grover Massenberg. But Bo is one of my dearest friends. Cool is one of my buddies from back in the day, and I just have so much respect for him and what he's done in his career. And of course, Stacey Lattisaw is just a legend, a DC legend.
Yeah, we had Cool on here.
Yeah, I saw the show was cool. Yeah.
biggest shout out in hip hop history, hands down. It's the biggest. It's the biggest because it's at the end of the song. It's the last thing you remember, and everyone thinks I worked in whatever market that plays that song a lot. A lot of people think I worked in that particular market when they hear my name. It's like, hey, did you work in Philly? Like, no. Did you work in New York? No. It's the Let Me Clear My Throat song. Oh, that's why I know your name. I get that so much. Thank you, E. Play it one more again.
Okay, here we go. One more again.
And big shout going out to Frank Ski as well.
Woo, yeah, congrats
we
to Frank.
Still in the game. We're still in the game.
And syndicated now. So
yes.
We got to get Frank on the show. Frank Ski, I know you one of my Facebook friends. You gonna be on the show too. We got to get him on the show for real. We'll get Frank.
Yeah.
So if you're checking this out, man, this is what we do each and every week right here on Shooting the Breeze, Conversations with the DJ. Hit us up on Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button, as well as if you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification button as well as the subscribe button. Greg, let's talk about some of the cool folks you met. The Queen.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
The Queen. Lord. Royalty, brother.
The young lady in the green is Montez Miller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She was a producer at BET for Video Soul.
Okay.
And Montez invited me to go with her to this reception in honor of Miss Aretha Franklin, the Queen. And the Reverend Jesse Jackson was her escort. And she just treated Montez like Montez was the Queen, and I write in my book that RESPETC should be spelled MONTEZ, because that's how much Aretha Franklin just seemed like she just loved Montez. And because she loved Montez, she transferred all that energy over to me because I was with her. So that was just a very special night. I really, really, really had just an awesome time that night just to even meet Aretha Franklin.
Man,
Yeah.
dude's the queen.
And Jesse. Well, I met Jesse at Kiss, but just to meet Aretha Franklin and Jesse together.
You know, at first time I met Jesse Jackson was actually at Virginia State. He came down to Virginia Hall to speak to us. Speaking to college students. I remember that because I remember the Qs, Jesse a Q. They all around Jesse acting up, and Jesse an old Q, so he wasn't following the hype at the time. He's like, "Calm down, brothers, calm down." Look, okay, Whitney, Babyface, what's going on here? What was this going on? What's going on here?
Okay, this picture right here, man, was at the Waiting to Exhale party.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
we know that era.
Yeah, and that was a major part of my whole BET experience because I was able to break a lot of those videos that appeared on that album. And just to be there with Babyface to get a chance to interact with him, and of course Whitney, because I had met Whitney at Kiss several times, but just to be at that event with both of them, it was really special, man.
What is that? Velvet? Is that Velvet?
It was Velvet. It was
Velvet.
It was Velvet. And it's funny because Eric Watson, Lorenzo that worked at BET.
Yes.
Yeah. I posted this picture on my Facebook page, and he told me that I photoshopped myself in that picture.
Wow. Yeah. They tend to
He said it looked like
that.
I photoshopped myself in the picture.
I don't want to forget to ask you: are you going to the BET reunion in July?
Oh, no question, man.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to make plans to be there.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make plans.
A lot of people been calling me about that, so I haven't got my ticket yet, but I'm going.
I've got a couple of calls too, so I'm gonna try to do it as well.
You said ticket. Where you living now, Greg?
I'm in DC. I'm in DC.
That's right. BET's in New York now. My bad. That's right. I forgot they moved. I remember the move, boy. That was a monster back then when they decided to move.
Oh, yeah, man. That's one of the things that I guess we're going to talk about BET somewhere along the line. But one of the things that really, and both Samson and I have talked about this a lot, actually. When BET was in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. was the place that you had to bring your artists if you wanted to get that exposure, because you had to bring them to BET. Right. And you also had to take them to the other radio stations like Kiss and HUR and DJ 100, whatever. But most of the record labels, their priority was getting their artists on BET.
Right.
When BET left and went to New York, it just created this huge void. And it never was the same. And I really think that it just took a lot out of the whole DC market when BET left DC and moved to New York.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was, they went there in 2000?
It was
2001?
Yeah, I left in 2009, and I think they went in 2000,
Yeah.
All right, now I'm a little jealous about this one.
Oh, man.
How you with the boss, dude?
Man.
You the queen and the boss.
This picture right here, this experience right here, man, you gotta understand, man. I was growing up listening to Motown,
Right. Oh yeah, you in heaven right now.
Supreme, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder. Diana Ross was somebody that I saw on Ed Sullivan's show, as a kid, man.
Right.
That, these are the people that I probably would never even get the chance. And here it is. I met her at BET before, and I met her 3 times actually. But when I met her at BET, she told me that she was gonna have this party, and she wanted to invite me to the party. So I get this invitation, and it just so happened that there was this hurricane. It's in Fort Myers, Florida. She had a beach house in Fort Myers, Florida. And on the news, a hurricane was projected to hit Fort Myers. Wow. Everybody at BET was telling me, my family was telling me, you shouldn't go because they're supposed to have a hurricane down there. I'd already booked my flight and everything. And I just decided, I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm going to go down there. I went down there, man, and fortunately for me, a lot of people that were supposed to show up, they didn't show up because of the hurricane. So it wasn't a whole lot of people at that party. So me and Diana, we kicked it, man. I mean, we had a great time.
It's about to go viral. Yeah, me and Diana kicked it.
Yeah, we kicked it.
I mean, seriously. I really got a chance to know her. It was cool. It was definitely an experience that I will never forget. That, man. Yeah.
Was Tracy there?
In fact, Tracy was there. Her whole family was there. Tracy, all the kids. It was for her.
You hollering at Diana. We thinking about Tracy.
Hey Tracy, just in case you find this one day. Hey Tracy.
I love me some Tracy, man.
Ooh, we.
Yeah, definitely. So she is her authentic self. That's what I love about her.
Yeah.
You know, she can be kind of quirky in her own way. Say that again, E?
Kind of hood. Kind of quirky.
She can be, but kind of quirky. She's a little bit of it all. She's a nice smorgasbord. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, love Tracy Ross.
Yeah. So,
hey, hold on, E. While you talk about, can you, Greg, talk about when Diana Ross performed in Central Park? Do you remember that?
I remember the first night it rained.
Yeah. Do you remember? Were you in Washington D.C. or were you in New York at the time?
Well, I never lived.
You had to be in D.C.
Yeah, I saw it on TV.
You saw it on TV. Okay, so I was in New York at the time, and could you elaborate a little bit about how huge that was? Because when you look at it, they say that there was over 800,000 people in Central Park to witness that.
Yeah, it was definitely an iconic moment in history. And I think what made it even more iconic was the fact that it did rain and she continued the show in the rain until she couldn't do it any longer and she left. I think that's what made it more dramatic. And then she came back the following day and did the show again. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the following day. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the fact that it rained and she was still out there doing it, that made it even more iconic.
Yeah. And she had the cover, the boss cover with nothing but the tank top on. And then I just remember
rain and lightning.
Rain and lightning. And I just remember her being all wet. I mean, I'm young, but I'm fantasizing over seeing her wet, as she's singing all her songs. That's why I needed you to help me because I don't remember it that well, but I just know that was such an iconic moment for the boss, and it'll go down in history. And it was like, I actually looked it up recently. It was like 800,000 people there in Central Park. It was a free concert. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hey, Bo chimed in again. It says Greg, Smokey, and Barry Gordon. Well, it's not that, Bo, but it's getting close to it when I put this one up.
Oh man, that was I think that was at Nabob.
That's Nabob?
Yeah, Nabob, and I was talking to Gerald Busby, the late great Gerald Busby.
The late great Gerald Busby.
Yeah. And he was saying, Stevie, I want you to meet Stevie. So he grabbed me and pulled me over and introduced me to Stevie. Come on, Greg, got to take a picture with Stevie. And we took that picture, man. I really, really, really had a lot of respect for Gerald, man. He was a good brother. And I'm a huge Stevie fan, so that just made my night. But that was at Nabob.
Yeah, man. I met Stevie a couple of times. He's always been very gracious.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Uncle Greg.
That's my niece Angel. I mean, I love her to death, man. Love her.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely. So you got a chance to meet some of the greats, some of the old greats, and some of the new greats back then. Can you imagine brothers coming out like that now?
But let me tell you about this picture right here, because what's interesting about this is, if you notice, this is the Boys to Men before they became Boys to Men. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before they blew up. This is the very beginning. Michael Bivins brought Boys to Men and another bad creation to Kiss.
ABC.
And that's when that song Aisha was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was running around wanting to take pictures with these little kids. They were totally ignoring Boys to Men. So I sort of felt, because I didn't, I like Motown Philly, but I wasn't. Right. We had just started playing it actually, so I wasn't like a big fan of this. But I felt sorry for them because nobody was really, checking.
You felt sorry for Wanye and the crew.
Okay. So I called him and I brought him into that conference room. I said, "Come on, man, let's take a picture." And so I got somebody, and that's how that shot was taken. Because everybody was running after another bad creation, nobody was paying attention to them.
Yeah, they probably felt sorry.
They just blew up.
They probably felt sorry for themselves. They had to wear them sweaters like that too. It's just like, they're like, we got to dress like this for real. Like,
You
come
notice,
on.
I don't have one on, right?
Yeah, boy. Hey, man, look. I mean, this is probably what, 94?
But that was their brand back then.
That was their brand back in
Yeah,
94.
yeah. They from Philly. They really didn't want to dress like that.
Look at here, man. The Funky Divas.
Oh, man. Let me first give a shout out to Augie Ogburn. That's Augie's shot right there. Augie's taken so many pictures. I'm quite sure you two guys too. But
yeah, we got a couple. We got a couple with them.
But let me tell you about about Augie first. When I first started working at KYS, I think I might have been like 2 weeks. And I had some event that I had to go to, or some artist that came into town, and I was standing because I'm a behind the scenes kind of brother. I'm not really comfortable being out in the spotlight, so I was standing on the sidelines, and Augie was taking pictures of everybody else, and then Augie came over to me, and I didn't know this brother. He came over to me. He said, "Hey, Greg," he said, "You know, you're not the DJ at the Classics no more. You the music director at KYS. You got to get into some of these pictures."
Right.
And it just sort of got to me, and I understood what he was saying. You know, like the record labels want to see the music director and the program directors with their artists in the pictures. Right. And so, but Augie pulled me up and said, "Yeah, you got to get in some of these pictures." But this picture right here, man, this is when En Vogue just broke. We had just started playing their song on KYS. Them women came in, they saw me, they were so happy that I was playing their song. They just fell in love with me. And you can tell, man, they were so excited to be at KYS and so excited that we were playing their song. I never forget that. Yeah.
Greg, you were the most powerful person in the music industry.
I ain't go that far, man.
Come on, bro. I mean, I'm gonna say what it is. Think about it. Come on, man. Think about it. They had to come to BET. MTV wasn't playing En Vogue like that.
But this is KYS.
Okay, well, yeah. This KYS.
This was Hold On.
Hold On. Okay.
Hold On. Yeah, this was Hold. You can tell by how
before you got to BET, because you got to BET.
You can even tell how they dressed that this was before.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just checking. Well, we're gonna exalt you to that position before the night's over. Okay, he in trouble right now, but it was hot back in the day.
Yeah,
it's still hot, but you know.
That's when
before the smacking.
That was before the smack. Yeah,
that was before the smack.
Yeah, but I got a shout out to DJ Jazzy Jeff, because that brother was one of my inspirations too. Because hearing him on the turntables. He's an incredible DJ, man. Just
yeah.
He's going on tour with
Dougie Fresh,
LL, Salt and Pepper, because it's coming to Atlanta. It's a show coming to Atlanta, and they're all on it, man. So yeah, you got a chance to rock out with the right folks. I remember the young lady here.
Oh man,
boy, when they're trying to break her, boy,
whoa. Let me tell you about this situation.
Erica Kadar with his tall self.
Jean Riggins, the woman on the left, called me one day, and she said,
my girl.
Yeah, she called me to tell me, she said, "Greg, I am going to be sending you a video." Now, I don't know if this is true, but this is what she told me. She said that the song hadn't been sent to radio yet, and we're sending the video to BET first. That's what I was told.
Is it on and on?
She said, "I'm sending it to you. I want you to look at it," and Lydia and the whole group. So anyway, make a long story short, I was in my office. I played the video, and I was just blown away. You know, just by the way it sounded. I had never heard that sound before. And then also just the Color Purple theme. But also the other thing that made that video so special, everybody in BET was on that video. Everybody loved it. It wasn't just me. You know, it was like every single person that was in our music meeting fell in love with that song and with that video. Okay. And so when you can see some writing at the top. We took that picture first with Kadar and Erica, and that's Lydia Cole in it as well. But Erica kept calling. She would call me several times afterwards, and she wanted to keep in touch with me. So I had moved, Lorenzo. When you were there, I was in the NetOps office, But then they moved me over to the corporate office.
Right,
and I had this huge office in corporate. So Erica called me one day and she said, Greg, I want to come down and visit you. And she came over to the corporate office and she spent almost like 2 or 3 hours with me just chilling. And that's when she signed that picture. Because I actually had that picture framed in my hanging up in my office, and she signed it for me. But she told me that she really appreciated, the fact that I really, because when I got that video, it went immediately into heavy rotation. Usually when I would start a video,
which video was that, Greg?
On and on.
On and on.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually when I would play a video, I would put it in medium, maybe light. On and on went into heavy rotation immediately. That's how strongly I felt about that. I did the same thing with Aaliyah, back and forth.
Okay.
And
I got to ask you if you remember something, Greg.
Okay.
I got an advance cassette of Erykah Badu's album, right? This is when we were working together, and I came to your office and played the Erykah Badu album for you in your office.
See, I don't remember that, man. Seriously.
Yes, I played it for you in the office because I was hosting Video Vibrations at the time.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I asked you which video. So I came to your office and I played it for you. And you were like, yo, this girl is dope. And then we premiered See You Next Lifetime on Video Vibrations.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you at the event that they had in New York? That they flew BET up there for this event in New York that she was?
No, I didn't make it to that one.
Okay.
I didn't make it to that. I remember that event because that's when I was at V103 in Baltimore. Erykah actually called me and left a message on my voicemail because I was supposed to come up to the event, so I didn't make it. I think Sincere Thompson was working with her as well. Yeah, and then Sincere had her call me and leave a message to say thank you because we had to fight we were talking about records we had to fight for. On and On was one of those records I had to fight the white suits about because they can't feel that. They can't feel On and On. You know what I mean? They don't have the ear. They'd be like, is this a song that you think is going to be around for another 5 years? Yes. Yes.
25 years.
Right. Yeah. And now to this day, you still hear that particular song. So I got an advanced copy. And who were we talking to a couple of weeks ago? We were talking about the Erykah Badu story.
Oh,
sheesh. It wasn't Parrish, was it?
No.
I can't remember who it was. Anyway, so yeah, I brought it to your office. And then when See You Next Lifetime premiered, he was like, okay, Lorenzo, we need a big introduction for this.
Craig Davis.
On video. Was it Craig Davis?
Craig Davis.
And we need a big introduction for you for the introduction of the world premiere of See You Next Lifetime.
See, man, all this stuff, let me put it like this. Yeah. There's so many things that happen that you remember and then things you don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just don't. But I'm not saying it didn't happen. It's
right.
I don't remember it.
No, because I believed so much. I was getting so much pushback from the white suits about this song that I was like, look, we got to make sure we blow this girl up. So we were playing it on V103 in Baltimore, and I said, okay, let me let Greg hear this girl, Erykah Badu. And that's why I wanted you to hear it. So whenever her stuff came out, boom, we were able to embrace it, and we would play her videos on the show. And this may have been before. It had to be when On and On was out.
Yeah, because all I remember is when they flew us up for the event that they had, and she performed.
Right. I do remember that event.
Really see, who she was, and actually, that was when I decided to book her on BET for her first. I think that was her first national performance when she came to BET to perform.
Right.
She performed on BET. Yeah.
And then when she came down to Baltimore, that's when we had the exclusive event in Baltimore, and then they gave another exclusive event in Washington D.C. Yeah. I'm surprised you don't remember that, man. Because I said,
like I said, the thing about it, I've had people come up and tell me things that happened that I just don't remember. And then I tell people some things that happened to them and they don't remember.
Right.
So,
Well, okay. Since we're on that, do you remember the place where when you hired me? It was you who hired me to go to BET. Do you remember that? Let's talk about that. So everyone that's watching, Greg Diggs hired me to come work at BET. So that's how I got to work there for 4 years. And that's
how'd you get to work at BET?
Yeah,
Who hired you?
How'd I get the job? How'd I get the job at BET? Do you remember that, Greg?
Well, I definitely remember that. Now, let me just say this, Lorenzo. You know,
it's all love.
I've always liked your style. You know,
right.
Like your presentation and everything. And I said when I had this meeting with Jeff Lee to get the position, and I knew that eventually I was going to have to make some changes and bring some people on. And so I was trying to figure out, you know, who I would bring in. It just so happened that I ran into you at this event, and I was like, Lorenzo Ice-T Thomas, that's it. That's the one I want. That's the person. That's the voice I want for Video Vibrations.
Right. It was an Electra record party event in Washington, D.C. Yeah. I remember that. Specifically remember that.
I remember seeing you and thinking to myself, you know, like, Lorenzo would be perfect for that show. He'd be the perfect voice for that show.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, you know, I find. I think Eric, you and I were talking on the phone about this, man. It's like Donnie Simpson changed my life when he hired me, you know, and my whole thing is that, you know, like, I wanted to be a person when I got in a position to do certain things that I would be able to bring some people along with me and do some things to help them move up. And especially people that I think are talented. Right. And I've always admired, Lorenzo, your skills, the way your vibe, everything.
Thank you.
You know, on the air. And I was thinking to myself when I saw you at that party that you were the person that I wanted to host Video Vibrations.
Right. And basically what Donnie Simpson did for you, you did for me. You see what I'm saying? He saw you at a club, and then, you know, he said, you know what, I want you to come on and be my music director. You saw me at an event. He said, you know what, I want you to come on and be the host of Video Vibration. So it's you know, it's just reaching out for another brother and pulling them up.
But see, that's the thing. Eric and I were talking about this as well on the phone call. It's like my thing is that, man, I think mentorship is important. And not to say that I was your mentor, but I did have some people that I mentored at BET. And one was Tia Smith and Tuma Basa.
Yes.
You know, those are two people that I just thought had so much talent. And I loved their passion and their creativity. And so I had an opportunity to hire Tia, because Tia was my intern at WKYS. So when I came to BET, I didn't know she was at BET. I go down to the music library. Tia Smith is in the music library. And so I'm thinking, what are you doing here? And she told me, you know, she'd been there for a minute. And anyway, I had 2 slots that I had to open for a music assistant. So I knew I wanted Tia Smith to be my music assistant. So I went back to Lydia Cole and I told her I wanted to hire Tia. And she said, well, Greg, Tia doesn't have any experience. She's a music librarian. I said, I understand that, but I want to hire her. And she said, I don't think that's a good idea. That's a good call. That's the word she used. And I said, let me ask you a question. I was under the impression when I got this position that I would be the person who would be responsible for hiring whoever I wanted in the music video department. Is that correct? And she said, yeah, that's correct. She said, but I think that's hiring Tia would be a bad call. I said, well, if that's the case, I want to hire Tia Smith because I think she's the perfect person, and she's the person that I want to be my music assistant. Make a long story short, Tia Smith came in. I ain't got to tell you, Lorenzo. She came in, man, and she just blew up. And now she went over to TV One and she started doing her thing at TV One. She got her own production company now. Same thing with Tuma Basa. I didn't have to fight for Tuma, but when Tuma came in for his interview, there was just something about it. He was just so passionate and excited just to be there, and I could just feel the talent in him. And I wanted to give this kid a break. And I was thinking in my head, you know, I want to do what Donnie Simpson did for me, change somebody else's life. And those are 2 people that I can really feel that, you know, I mentored and just gave them an opportunity to fly. And they took it and definitely are flying.
Right. Yeah, well, I definitely thank you, Greg. Want to share a quick story, E, on this.
Go
The
ahead.
power of video vibration. I don't think I shared this with Greg, but while I was the host, I went out to LA. I don't know what for whatever, but I had stopped by 90, I think it was 92, the beat or whatever. This is when Theo was on there and he was the voice for Waiting to Exhale and so on and so forth. So I had stopped by the radio station. So I walk in to the radio station with someone and they're introducing me to all the personalities that are there, right? So they're like, mind you, Video Vibrations on the East comes on from 11, I think it was 11 to 2 or something like that. It was a 3-hour window. On LA, it came on from 8 a.m. to 11. So all the people in LA would turn to Video Vibrations to watch it in the morning. So when I go into the radio station and I introduce myself, everyone was like, "Oh, you are the guy on Video Vibrations. Oh, I listen to you every morning before I got to come into this to the station." Then they had a concert going on that same time, so I went with them to the concert, and the guy on, I think it was Theo, was on stage, and Theo said to the crowd, "Hey, we got Lorenzo Ice T Thomas from BET Video Vibrations here." And I'm standing on the side of the stage and I just waved, and the crowd went crazy. I said, "Ah!" And I'm standing there like, these people don't, like, I'm on the West Coast. Right. You know, when we were younger, like, how often do we go out west? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We didn't travel that much, you know. So it showed me the power of the show and BET.
Yeah, that's
it was worldwide. It was
that's
worldwide.
the thing that I really didn't understand until I got to BET, just how powerful it was. Because coming from radio, you know, we playing a local market for maybe 100,000 people or whatever the case may be. Right. So when I got to BET, it was just a completely, on a completely different level. Yeah. You know, just like you said, everybody from the East Coast to Midwest to Dirty South, the West Coast, everybody who was black or who watched BET knew those programs. Yeah. You know,
very well.
It just made me realize just how huge it was, but I didn't know that until I actually got there and started experiencing it.
Right. And then after I did that, you know, my head got real big and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Turn sideways to get in the place.
Yeah, man, you know. So I'm like, I come back out to DC, be like, yeah, I'm the man. I went out to LA. Everybody in LA know who I am.
They know who I is.
Next thing you know, we're going out to the Urban Network and then staying in extra day and going out to Peanuts in LA.
Bubbling and Dublin.
Yeah, Greg didn't go to Peanuts. He didn't go to Peanuts.
Greg, look, you know what? We don't do this often, but we had the bumper. We had the bumper tonight because we had a game at at the arena. Janet was supposed to perform in Atlanta tonight. Unfortunately, the Hawks. So unfortunately, the Hawks beat the Celtics. So we at home tonight playing a game against the Celtics. But she performed last night, and she was going to perform tomorrow night. She actually brought JD out last night, so you know everybody was like, "Oh, are they back together again?"
Oh man!
Wow!
Especially since Ashante and Nelly, you see them running around again. So
I know, right?
Yeah, dude. So I see Janet.
Yeah,
talk to me. Talk to me.
The first picture, of course, at KYS. That was at the at the Capitol Center for the Rhythm Nation concert.
Yeah, I can tell that rhythm
behind stage. That's the first one on the right.
Yep. All of us got a picture with her in that outfit, right?
Yeah. I think Chris Berry was the rep at that time.
The second picture,
the same outfit every city.
The second picture is when Janet came to BET and she surprised us. I was the person who had to book all of the celebrity interviews and performances at BET. Nobody could perform on BET unless I approved it. So any celebrity that came to BET, I knew about it. But Janet wanted to surprise us. And she came to BET. They brought her into my office and my heart stopped. because
Greg, we got somebody coming here to see you. I won't suppose to have nobody here. Don't worry.
And it was I think it's Nat Martin.
Oh, Nat did that.
Oh, Nat.
Yeah.
Nat.
And Janet walked into my office, and my heart just stopped because like I said, I would have been the person who would have booked this, but she wanted to come on her own to surprise us. So she came and she took pictures with everybody in BET. She walked around the whole building. The other thing with Janet, I heard you talking to AJ last week about this event in Malibu, at Janet's Malibu beach house. Yeah. So what happened was,
got fired after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lydia Cole and I were supposed to go to New York to meet with Renee Alessandro to talk about doing a world premiere of Janet Jackson's "Got to You Gone" video, and also some promotion for the Velvet Rope album. Something happened. Lydia couldn't go, so I had to go by myself. So I flew up. I had the meeting with Renee. Everything was cool. We got I made the arrangements, the deal, so that we could have the world premiere, and also some other promotions along with the album. So after we finished the meeting, he said, "Oh, by the way, Greg, Janet would like to invite you to her home at the time, because we didn't know she was married, to her home in Malibu to listen to an advanced copy of her new Velvet Rope album." And he was saying you and some other people from BET. So that just blew me away. So when we got into LA, it was me and Cheryl Questel. You remember Cheryl Questel, Lorenzo?
Yeah.
Anyway, Cheryl.
I'm sorry. I got thrown off. It just hit me. I was at that Erykah Badu event. It just hit me like boom. I know that was about 30 minutes ago.
Brain fart.
But it just hit me. The vision said boom. Like, oh, I remember it now. It was a narrow place.
Yeah.
It was a narrow place. I remember. I did make it to that. That's right. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I don't remember that name.
We're back on Janet.
But anyway, we were in the limo going to Janet's house, and we were on this long road by the ocean. Right. Anyway, we get to this spot, and the limo driver pulls over, and it looks like a warehouse. And we're like thinking that they're gonna like shoot us or something. You know, why pull up here? It just didn't look like some place that Janet would live. So we opened the door, and it was just beautiful, man. Just incredible. Just you could see the ocean, and Janet didn't come down until later, and I saw Renee, and then Jeff Lee was there, and some of the other people from BET. But then later on, Janet came out, and Renee actually played the album cuts, and Janet was just listening to us, watching us.
So that's when you found out she was married to Renee?
No. We didn't know that then. But also,
okay.
Right, we didn't know that then. But also what happened that particular time, I had noticed there was this small room to the side. We were relegated to the living room area, but there was this small room to the side, and I saw all of these pictures, but I couldn't figure out who they were. So when Janet came back over to me, I asked her, I said, "Do you mind, could I see those pictures in there?" She grabbed my hand, took me in there, and she was showing me pictures of, it was her, and she said, "This is my favorite one. It's her and Michael when they were kids." And she
grabbed your hand, Greg. She grabbed your hand.
My hand. Grabbed my hand.
Grabbed your hand.
So
okay. That's all we heard. That's all we heard.
That's all I heard.
Janet grabbed your hand. Go ahead. But go ahead.
But we got in there, man. What was so funny about the whole situation was we were in there for like maybe two or 3 minutes, and she was just talking about each individual picture. But I looked around and saw everybody was looking to see what we were doing. And so Janet was like, she looked around and said, "Well, I guess we better go back in there." But I mean, that was an awesome experience, man. I mean, that and the Diana Ross thing were two of the highlights for me.
So when I go back to say that you were the most powerful man in urban music at the time, I'm gonna give you your flowers. So who gonna fly me out? Janet? Okay. Who gonna stop by my? Who gonna roll up in here unannounced? Oh, Janet. Okay. All right. So I'm going to see Diana, the boss. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room.
Woo!
Patty.
And that was on the set of Video Soul with Patty. As a matter of fact, we gave Patty LaBelle one of the first BET awards. That was one of the when Jeff Lee hired me. We haven't told that story yet. I'll just go save that. But anyway, that was Patty LaBelle on the set of Video Soul, of course, with Donnie Simpson and myself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, I joke about it, but I'm so serious about it because back then there were two outlets for Black music on a national level: Soul Train and BET. Because MTV, MTV did their thing after Columbia would blackball MTV if they didn't play Michael Jackson, because that's the only, because they weren't playing Black videos. And Columbia and Epic said, look, if you don't play this Michael Jackson record, we're pulling all our videos. And they had a slew of people. So that's what happened. But that didn't open up the door for everybody. The only place that we could be assured that if our music was going to get out on a national level, because at that point, boys and girls, we didn't have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of these avenues that you can get your stuff out on now.
Right.
We had two platforms. It was Soul Train and it was BET. And you were the gatekeeper of all music that went on that were programmed on there. So when I say that you were probably the most influential, if not the most influential from a national standpoint, Greg, you were, bro. And look, hey, all flowers and honor go to you, because as a music man yourself, look, bro, you did a great job at shaping the network, the success of the network. I mean, we all listened to BET, all of the programming, Video Soul, Video Vibration, Teen Summit. Everybody, we watched all the programming all the time, and you had a engaged audience all the time. People grew up on you, on the work that you put out there. How does, and I say that because we're going to transition to a couple of things. How does that make you feel about the culture? Because we're going to throw this up
Boom.
here.
Boom.
Wow.
Hip Hop Power 30. So as we are on 50 years of hip hop, this was at 30, right? Hip Hop Power 30.
Yeah.
Look here. They got you up on there. So you not only shape just R&B music, you shape hip hop. And at the time, The Source was the leading authority on hip hop, and they honored you.
We considered it the Bible at that time.
Yeah, for hip hop. Oh, yeah.
For hip hop, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, man, that was definitely a major honor for me, because it was 1996. They ranked me at number 7. Then 1997 and 1998, they ranked me at number 6. But and that was also in the company of Puffy, Russell Simmons, Jay-Z. Just to be in the company of those, man, it was just an honor for me. But I have to say, as much as I appreciate, the recognition, I could not have gotten that particular award without the Rap City host and the Rap City producers and the Rap City crew, because they were the lifeblood of the hip hop music at BET. Right. I made the decisions what was played, but I really relied on the Rap City producers, because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a hip hop head. I wasn't a hip hop. I knew hip hop, I appreciated it, but I wasn't a hip hop head. Fortunately, the other thing that I had to deal with, and Lorenzo, I'm quite sure you understand this, man. I had to write this down so I could remember the shows that I was responsible for. I had to program the music for Rap City, Rap City Nihon. I don't know if you all know Rap City Nihon. That was Rap City Japan. It was a BET produced show that was aired exclusively in Japan. So I programmed the music for that. But then Rap City Nihon, Video Soul, Video Vibrations, Heart and Soul, Planet Groove, The Hit List, In Your Ear, Midnight Love, Video Soul Weekend Countdown, and the Rap City Weekend Countdown. So all of those shows.
I think you left out a show, BET Uncut. program?
I was about to ask about that. Look, hey, Lo, he won't gonna get past. He won't gonna get past us on that.
That was after I left. But no, I was saying all this.
I know the Holy Spirit wouldn't allowed him to program that.
yeah, boy.
But the reason I list all those programs is because I had my hands full.
Right.
All of those shows were R&B shows.
Right.
I didn't need any help. Not trying to be egotistical, but I really didn't need any help to program those R&B programs.
Right.
But with Rap City, I knew that they were more familiar with that music than I was. And they lived and breathed that hip hop culture. So I really relied on them and respected them. So when Eric Watson or Keith Michelle or Craig Henry, Melanie Massey, Sunita Brooks would come into my office, and it's like some songs that I probably didn't particularly care for. Greg, man, I think we really should be playing this song because of X, Y, Z. I would think maybe 95%, maybe 90% of the time, I would acquiesce because I had so much respect for them and what they brought to the table, and knowing that they knew what was happening on the streets. So I really, like I said, I really appreciated getting that award. But the MVPs were the Rap City producers, the Rap City hosts, Big Les, Big Tigger,
Thank you.
Joe Claire,
Right.
Chris Thomas.
I'm talking about the ones that I work with. I know.
Okay.
Came before.
So Chris wasn't there when you were there. He had already left.
No, Chris wasn't there when I was there. And the last person that I worked with was the only three that I really worked with was Les, Big Tigger, and Joe
Claire.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Big shout going out to Big Les.
Yeah. Oh man, and that's the other thing too. I just had so much respect for the host of that show because just watching them do those interviews. Big Les could give a masterclass in just doing an interview,
Right.
And one of my all-time favorite Rap City shows was when Joe Claire was in New York with Jay-Z, and they were flying around New York in a helicopter.
Wow.
It was crazy because the president was in New York and they had shut down the streets. So they had to get to their destination. Jay-Z commandeered a helicopter. Him and Joe, these black brothers are flying over New York, filming Rap City in a helicopter.
Yeah.
That's iconic to me.
Right.
That's iconic. And that shows you the power of hip hop.
Yeah. Special shout out to Larry Woodson. He said he's loving the chat.
Larry.
What's up, Larry Woodson?
What's up, Larry? Thanks for checking us out.
Thank you, Larry.
Check us out. Feel free to drop us a chat. Make sure you hit the like button if you're on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube. I think that's the dog back there. Hit the notification button as well as the subscription button. And please share. We do this each and every Thursday night. And as we talk about hip hop, LL Cool J is on as ladies love Cool J. What was going on here? What was it? What was going on in this party?
That was actually at BET. Yeah, I think that was. I think it was in the green room at BET.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna see Tigger tomorrow because Tigger, Tigger's my morning show guy here in Atlanta. So I was on the line with your boy last night. Now you got to get on the show. You got to get on the show too. How much weed was smoked prior to this show?
I still have a contact high from.
You still got a contact, baby? I swear, hey, that's one thing that everybody in the music industry can say about Snoop. When he left you, you still had a contact high.
Man, when that brother walked into, well, actually that's in the green room too. When I walked into that green room and saw Snoop and we took that picture, I mean, it was like woof. You can just
not get pulled over.
You can smell it. I mean, but that's Snoop.
That's Snoop.
My only thing was, as long as he wasn't smoking it on the premises, I was cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that we could lose our license. And we did have an incident, and I'm not going to name the artist's name, but
it blazed up.
It was a female artist who was actually smoking weed in the cafeteria area at BET.
Brat.
And so the producers called me. The producers called me and said,
Greg
Greg,
didn't say a name. Greg did not say a name.
Greg didn't say it. I said it.
Yeah.
The producers called me and said, Greg, we need you to come down to the studio now. So I go downstairs, and this artist and her entourage were outside at that time smoking weed. And I had to tell her and them, you all can't do that here. I mean, you're going to cause us to lose our license. I said, you all have got to stop. Make a long story short, they apologized profusely, but then when it got back to Lydia, Lydia called the head record person and got that individual that individual and Lydia Cole were in her office talking to this head of the record label, and that head just laid this artist out on
Must have been Ken. I can see Ken cussing somebody out.
I ain't saying no names.
I know you ain't saying no names. I just put it together.
I ain't saying no names.
I ain't give his last name.
But yeah, that happened. That happened.
Oh, I believe that.
Is the name in the book?
And it wasn't Snoop.
Is the name in your book?
No, the name is not in the book.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, Lo, look at here, Lo. You still with the ladies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. That was special. Because that's the other thing that I really liked about that job, because when people would come to BET, you could tell that they were very appreciative of us giving them the airplay.
Oh, yeah.
And when Salt and Pepper saw me, man, they just grabbed me and hugged me and they said, we got something for you, And they came back with this gold plaque. The gold plaque, and presented it to me, and we took several pictures together. But they were just so excited that I was playing their videos on BET and heavy. But I mean, they were good videos, good songs. It wasn't like it was a no-brainer to play the music, but they were just really just happy that I was playing the songs, their videos on BET.
I got a question, Greg, because Lorenzo spoke to it earlier. Remember those videos were just like 15-minute movies?
The Michael Jackson and
the guys,
Mariah Carey's.
Yeah. So when you got those and said, "Lord have mercy, I got a 7-8 minute video," because a record we could never play a record that long.
Well, see, that wasn't an issue for me. It depended on who the artist was. I wasn't there for the Michael Jackson Thriller era, so I didn't have to deal with that. But there were some that it just depended on who the artist was. I didn't think in terms of time. I thought in terms of quality.
Quality and content.
You know what I'm saying? I thought in terms of quality. What are we presenting to our public, our viewing audience? Would they be interested in seeing all of this? So all the videos that were lengthy, if I really liked them and I thought they were creative and interesting and the song was good and they had a good storyline, I didn't have any problem putting them in heavy rotation.
Okay. That's what's up. Have you been to Vegas to see him?
No, I haven't. Let me tell you about this picture too, man. Usher is another one that we broke at BET. He was so happy when he came to he was all around all the women, man, just passing out roses. He was so happy that we were playing his video. He was just thrilled. And that was one of the things that made me really appreciate that job as well, just to see the appreciation from the artists when they would come to BET, because I'm going to tell this story because she's my all-time favorite artist. And when Gladys Knight released her album Just For You, I was at BET at the time, and Gladys she's an old school artist. Right. So she's not one of those artists that, like the young people would love. But for Video Vibrations, Lorenzo, and Heart and Soul, and Video Soul, I could play Gladys Knight. So she's my all-time favorite artist. And she had 3 videos that came out during that era when I was there. And I played every single one of them and put them in heavy rotation because I thought they were good videos, but also because it was Gladys. Anyway, I had booked Gladys to perform and to interview on Video Soul. She came to Video Soul. I was in my office and they said, Greg, we need you down in the green room. So I go to the green room and Gladys was in there with Dwayne McClary. You know Dwayne McClary from M.I.A. Records? No, I guess not. Anyway, he was the music video from person from M.I.A. Anyway, Dwayne and Gladys were in the green room. Gladys, she told me, she said, I just want to thank you because I know you are the reason that I've been seeing my videos being played on BET. And then
you were the most important person, man.
Then she said, I got something for you. Then she went behind the couch and she gave me this gold plaque of the Just For Me album, Just For You album. And she said, this album went gold because of you. And I want you to give this to you personally. That's my prized possession right now. That is my prized possession, to have my favorite artist present me personally with a gold album that she acknowledged that I was the one that helped her to go gold. That meant so much to me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jerry Finner once again. He said he got to check on his daughters, man. And he's gonna be in Atlanta Memorial Day. We'll catch up, Jerry. And he says he's in Orlando, so
that's right.
You gotta catch up.
Thank you, Jerry.
And he called you a living legend player. He called you a living legend. So I ain't the only one that's saying it. I'm just saying. Look here, man. Look here. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Come on, man. Nigga, Jimmy. Man, rest well, Jimmy. Rest well, my brother.
Yeah, rest in peace, my brother. He was a good brother, man.
Yeah, Jimmy.
I mean, the thing about all you two are in the same. You know what I'm talking about, man. We are really privileged to be able to have the opportunity to meet our idols.
Yeah.
True.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Come on, man.
True.
Yeah.
I was at Kiss. I've been there maybe about 2 years looking at that haircut there. I think I've been there maybe 2 years, but I was still starstruck when I saw when Maurice White and Philip Bailey came in there. You know, I'm an Earth, Wind, and Fire fanatic. You know, just to even be in their presence, you know, that was just mind blowing for me.
Mm-hmm. Man, I swear. But you know what? As we talk about, you know, the things that we see, I cracked up laughing when I read this. What's your most embarrassing moment in a low? This is certifiable funny, boy. I swear. Go ahead, talk about it.
You really want me to tell the story, right?
Hey, tell that story. You shouldn't have put it on paper. I would have never known.
We're shooting the breeze, Greg. We're just shooting the breeze, man.
Shooting the breeze.
It is in my book, though, actually. So I guess I'll tell it. Anyway, I was working at World Space Satellite Radio. After I left BET, I went to World Space Satellite Radio. And for those people who don't know, that was the very first satellite radio in history, before Sirius XM even came on the market. As a matter of fact, XM was a shoot-off from World Space. And so my channel was called Ngoma, which was the African music channel. But I had to go to XM to actually build my channel. That's Foley Bob, man. I got to talk about her too. I had to build my channel from scratch. And so Foley Bob, who's my music director, and I, and this guy named Ted Kelly, who worked at World Space as well, we were invited to this reception for the King of Swaziland. And he had 12 wives at the time.
Hello. 12
wives. And one of his wives and they were queens. And one of the queens was with him at the reception. So Foley and Ted did interviews with the king and some other people. And after they were finished, it was time to take pictures. So they asked me and some other people and some other dignitaries to come up and they wanted to take pictures with the queen. So they placed me right beside the queen and she was to my left. And so, like you see with the pictures with Janet and Diana Ross, you know, you hugging them, holding them, taking the pictures. I just took the picture. So I put my arm on her back while we took the picture and I smiled. Took my arm off and she smiled and she said, nice meeting you. And thank you. I said, nice meeting you too. And I walked away. All of a sudden, one of her handmaidens ran up to me. She grabbed my arm and she started yelling at me. You touched the queen. You're not supposed to touch the queen. How dare you touch the queen? That's the king's wife. And she was yelling so loud and she was screaming that people were looking at me like I was some kind of criminal or pervert or something. So it was just one of the most embarrassing moments that I had. And she just kept yelling and screaming at me. She kept grabbing on my arm. And then there was something in my mind that just clicked and said, there is absolutely nothing you can say to this woman that's going to make her stop yelling at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pulled my arm away and I just ran.
You got out of Dodge.
I got out there in disgrace.
Right. Well, yeah, okay, she's the queen, but we not in Africa right now. So
lesson learned: never touch
the queen.
Never touch
the queen. So you were at, now this was before XM and Sirius Satellite, right?
Yeah. But let me go back to Foley Bar for a minute.
Go ahead.
Because she was my music director, and I have to give her, this woman right here, I have to give her props, because she's another one that I consider one of my mentees, because I was programming this channel, this African music channel, when I got to World Space. I thought that they want hiring me to do an R&B channel, but when I got there, I found out that Ray Boyd, I'm quite sure you brothers know Ray Boyd.
Yes, I remember that.
Ray Boyd, the legendary Ray Boyd, was at World Space, and he was programming Potion 203, which was the urban channel for World Space. So I had two channels that they offered me: the World Music Channel or the African Music Channel. So I decided that it would be easier for me to program for one continent as opposed to the world. So I chose the African Music Channel, and it was called Ngoma. Ngoma is the Swahili word for the drum. Anyway, I had to program that channel from scratch. I'm not African. I've never been to Africa. So that was the most challenging, difficult experience that I've ever had in my entire career. Just think about it. You have to program a 24-hour radio station of African music, and you don't understand the language of some of these people are saying.
But you know the beat.
Oh yeah, so, but the thing is that I was able to come up with a format that worked, but I realized that it was missing something, authenticity. Anyway, I had to do some promos, liners for the channel, and so I submitted the copy to Foley, who was working in the production department at the time.
Okay.
She comes back to my office and she's looking real serious, and she says, Greg, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah, what's the problem? She said, I want to talk to you about your copy. And I said, yeah. And she said, I hope I'm not offending you, but I just want you to know that some of the things that you're using in this copy might be offensive to people who are from Africa. And I said, oh, explain that to me, because I really don't know. She said, well, you have all these African sound elephants and lions and monkeys and stuff. She said that those are perpetuating African stereotypes. That's not what the real Africa is like.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, man, I appreciated that woman so much for coming to my office and telling me that, because I didn't know that.
Right.
So I asked her, I said, well, tell me, Foley, what do you think I should do? And I had a conversation with her, and she told me some things. She went back, she did the promos. So I was saying to myself, and I was already told I need to hire a music director. And she was working in the production department. So I went to my supervisor, Billy Sabatini, and I told him, Billy, I want to hire Foley Barr as my music director. And he said, well, Foley doesn't have any experience in radio in that area. I said, I understand that, Billy. I said, but I really feel that she's what this channel needs. I think she can bring authenticity to the channel. And I really think it is also, I want to hire her as my morning jock. And he said, wait a minute, hold on. Foley's never been on air. You gonna hire her? I said, Billy, her voice. I mean, this girl was drop dead gorgeous. I mean, just beautiful woman. But the voice just resonated with me. Right. I knew she was a star. I knew she was a star. So I was talking to Billy. He said, well, do you think she can handle it? I said, Billy, I'm positive. He said, okay, Greg, it's your call. I hired Foley Barr. She went on the air, man, and she was just a natural. Now, this woman she's the biggest news anchor at Al Jazeera. She hosted the Nobel Peace Prize. She's been at the United Nations. She's huge. And it's just, I just have so much respect for what she's accomplished, man. And it's just so gratifying to me to see somebody that just is taken and just soared. And I'm just so proud of her. So I just want to make sure I just got that out there. That Holy Bar is definitely somebody that I have so much respect for, and I love her dearly. Yeah, no question about it.
Well, we had a conversation, and I was floored when I saw it. And you told me that you didn't know exactly what you were getting into because you saw the name on the door, but it couldn't have been what you thought it was. He could be teaching. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, let me just put
Revolution will not be televised. It won't.
Man, I gotta admit, man, God has blessed me tremendously because He's placed some very just awesome people in my life. When I got out of high school, I had to work my way through I was a cashier at the Giant. And so I went to UDC. At the time, it was called Federal City College. So I enrolled in this creative writing course. It said Scott Heron as the instructor, but it never dawned on me that when I walked into the classroom, that it was the Gil
Scott Heron.
The Gil Scott Heron. So I go into this classroom just totally blown away and starstruck. But then after the weeks go by, I realized this man was really an excellent instructor. So one day he asked the class to write a story. And I wrote my story, turned it in. And he's like, Diggs, I need you to stay behind for a second. So I'm like so intimidated. You can look at that big afro he had, man. He was like 6'2", and he had this stern look on his face. Right. So I mean,
Gil.
All I can see is all I see.
And he called me Diggs. I need you to stay after class. And so everybody left, and he was holding my paper in his hand, and he said, "You know what, Diggs? This is pretty good, but I know, and you know, that you can do better than this."
Okay.
He said, "I want you to take this home." And then the other thing he said that really got me, he said, because you are not just some average cat off the street. You really can write. So I want you to take this home and bring me back a story that's worthy of your talent. So I went home, I wrote, and then to this day, I can't even remember what I wrote. I went home, rewrote the story, brought it back. And I'll never forget, man, when he was passing the papers back to us, and he stopped by my desk with my papers, and he slammed it on the desk. He said, "Now that's what I'm talking about. Good job, Diggs." Man, I can't tell you what that did for my self-esteem. You know, right. for my confidence to have Gil Scott Heron believe in me and tell me that I'm not some average cat off the street.
Right.
That I could write. That resonated with me, man. That's something that, you know, I think I'm just truly blessed that I had two mentors, Donnie Simpson and Gil Scott Heron, that poured into me. You know, they really, really helped to shape who I am, my character, my work ethic, you know, and I know that's a blessing. You know, and that man right there, he was the person that set me on the right track, and he made me realize that I just couldn't settle for just being good. You need to be excellent. And that's what I've strived for, you know, throughout my entire career, not just trying to be good. I want to be excellent in everything that I do. And it's because of that man right there.
And speaking of writing, you did creative writing. Now you got a book out. Let's talk about the musical DNA of Greg Diggs. What's the book about? Well,
you know, it's funny because I wrote the book. Has been out for a minute, man. You know, but the interesting about the book, it's sold. It's more in the UK, Africa, and Japan than it did in the US.
Okay,
because they love that Black music over there.
Oh yeah.
But the reason I wrote the book, I had moved, and I went in this closet, and there was a box that was unopened, and it still had the tape on it, and I didn't know what was inside. So I peeled the tape off, and I looked inside, and I saw all of this stuff from the days when I was a DJ, from when the Studio 54 stuff, and BET stuff, the KISS stuff, satellite radio, and it just dawned on me that I had all of these different eras in my life where I had achieved success in those areas. And so that's how I came about writing the book, because, and I really thought about, like, who do you think you are writing a book? Who wants to read your story? I'm like, in my head, I was thinking Donnie is the person that should be writing the book. But I wrote the book, and it was therapeutic, man. It really made me think about my career on a completely different level. Like I said, in the various eras, and to be able to achieve success in several different areas. That really was something that I don't think a lot of people, in the industry can say. A lot of people have been successful in one arena or maybe two arenas, but I've been fortunate enough to be successful in several of them, and that was a blessing for me.
Yeah, your book, Greg. Kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because there actually is an individual that we both know that wrote a book, but that book kind of mentioned names and kind of called people out, and was a little salacious.
Yeah, I know you're talking.
I don't even have to say a name. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do that, and you may be able to sell more books because of that, or you could ruin your name. So as you were putting the book together, and just like you have during this conversation, you said, "Yo, I'm not saying any names." When we talked to Thomas Lytell said, "Man, I got stories, but they're going to the grave with me. I'm not even putting them in the book." For those that are aspire to be writers, and in this day and age where so much is put out there on social media, if someone wants to write a successful book, I didn't read Charlemagne the God's books, but I know he put some stuff out there as well, mainly about himself. Do you think the key is to be as transparent as possible and salacious in order to sell a book?
Well, see, when I wrote my book, my sole purpose of writing my book was to tell my story. That's the sole purpose of writing my book. I wanted to tell my story in my words, so people could read what I wrote, in my words, what I wrote. I didn't want, there's a lot of stories that I could have told, but I'm not the type of person, that's just not part of my character, to try to bring other people down. If I can't say something positive about somebody, there are quite a few stories in my book that talk about some of the adversities, and some even name names in the book when I had conflicts with certain people, and because it actually happened, they happened, and there's no way they could sue me because it happened. But but I'm not the type of person that tries to be salacious or try to bring somebody else down to lift myself up. So I never even entertained.
Well, can we talk about, because you've shared the story with me about the reason why you left BET? Can we talk about that? Because once you left, I think I was there for another year, and then that's when all the programming went up to New York. And I think I told you the story about how my meeting went. That's how I walk in. I think I'm part of the programming. It's like, nah, we moved the programming to New York, so you will not be going with us. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'll just stay here in DC then. Well, but go ahead, Greg.
Well, let me tell you, before we talk about how I left, let me talk about how I got there. Okay. I think that's sort of interesting, because that's sort of another Cinderella type of story, because I was at KYS at the time, and Tina Lee, who was Jeff Lee's wife, and he was the president of BET at the time. I had seen Tina, like I would see you and Eric out at certain events, Jack the Rapper and all those kind of things. Right. Tina and Wale, they produced this music video show called Music Video Connection in DC. So I would see Tina everywhere. Every time I would see her, she would say, "Greg, I just love your Trapper Jam. I love the music you play. I love the mixing," and all. She would always rave about the Trapper Jam. So anyway, I get this call, and it was Tina, and I was at KISS, and she asked me, she said, "I'm calling to find out, are you happy at KYS?" And I'm like, "I'm relatively happy." "Why?" She said, "Well, my husband is creating a brand new position at BET, and I think you would be perfect for it. Wow. And I just want to know if you were interested." And I was like, "Absolutely, yeah." So anyway, about a week later, Jeff Lee invited me to have lunch with him at this restaurant called Jermaine's in Georgetown. So go meet with Jeff Lee, and he would telling me about what was required for the position, what I needed to do, and things that it entailed. But then he stopped and he said, I called you in this meeting for two reasons. He said, the first reason is because I wanted to talk to you about the position. He said, the second reason I called you in, he said, because anytime my wife raves about another man, the way she raved about you, I want to see who this nigga is. That's what
quote unquote.
Right. And it just broke the ice. He started laughing. I started laughing. It was like we immediately bonded after that, man. And so he went on to tell me that, he wasn't satisfied with the way the music videos were being played at BET. He wanted to bring somebody in with radio experience that could program BET like a radio station, program the music videos like a radio station. And that was his vision. So he told me that he wanted me to watch BET for a week, watch it and write a proposal of all the things that I would do to change, to make it better. My recommendations, things that I saw, even some things, suggestions of what I thought would be good programming for the channel, the station. So anyway, I watched BET for a week. I wrote the proposal and I submitted it to Jeff. And then he invited me to BET. And I got there. I thought that day I was getting the gig. Seriously. He called me. I thought, okay, you're getting the gig today. But he wanted to show me around the facilities. He took me to the studios. But what's so interesting about that, too, everywhere we went, everybody was like, good morning, Mr. Lee. Good morning, Mr. Lee. Good morning, Mr. Lee. I was always calling him Jeff. And I didn't know whether or not I needed to change that and call him Mr. Lee, too. And I was like, wait, you've been calling him Jeff all this time. You might as well remain. But anyway, once we got all that straightened out, he told me, he said, I really liked your proposal. I have some other candidates I'd like to talk to, but I'll get back with you. Anyway, to make a long story short, the following week, he called me back and he offered me the position as the director of music video programming. And then he told me that I will be responsible for programming all the music videos on BET. No video could air on BET without my approval. I was also responsible for booking all of the celebrity interviews and performances for BET. No performance or interview could be done unless I approved it. And then he told me that I was responsible for enforcing the standards and practices policy for BET.
Woo.
So all of this stuff
was
my responsibility.
Lorenzo, didn't I just say he was the most powerful man?
But tying that into, Lorenzo, what you were telling me why I left.
Right.
Okay, so that's what Jeff Lee told me what my responsibilities were. I was the person who made decisions with every video that aired on BET.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we get this video by two of my favorite artists, Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson, and it was What's It Gonna Be? It was directed by the legendary director Hype Williams.
Hype Williams, that's right.
I understand that they spent almost $1 million.
That's right. Man, I remember
it was one of the most exquisite videos you would ever want to see. I mean, really directed that thing to just the stratosphere, man.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job on it. But the problem was it had some lyrics in it that did not comply with BET standards and regulations. And the lyrics were gonna make you cream, make you have wet dreams. Now today, that's nothing. Right. But back in 1999 at BET, those lyrics were not permitted on the channel. So if anybody submitted something like that, they had to edit those words out. The unfortunate part about that situation is that was the hook. Going to make you cream, make you have wet dreams. But anyway, I told Diane Van Horn, who was the young lady, the video person from Elektra Records, that she had to do the edits. 2 days later, I talked to Cindy Mahmood, and she said that Sylvia Rome from Elektra called Deborah Lee.
Whoa.
Went over my head, called Deborah Lee.
Off the boss.
She told Deborah Lee that she was not going to do the edits. So Deborah Lee made the decision to air the video. I took off work. I didn't go to work that day because I really had to process this in my head. There's a whole lot of stuff that was going on in my head at the time. So I didn't come to work. So I called Tia Smith, and she was my music assistant. And I asked her, I said, do you know whether or not they put that video in? And she said, yeah, Greg, it's in. Deborah Lee approved it. So I knew right then I couldn't do it because my whole thing is I just thought, a lot of people thought it was some kind of religious thing with me, you know, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they did think that. They did think that. Yep.
But it wasn't that. It was the hypocrisy. Because I was the person that had to tell these independent record labels and all the other record labels that they had to edit their videos because it was BET's policy. Everybody else had to edit their videos. All of a sudden, Sylvia Rome pops up, and I'm supposed to give her preferential treatment over all of these other people. I just felt that was hypocritical. I couldn't justify that. So when Deborah Lee made the decision to play it, I knew that I didn't want to be a part of that hypocrisy. So I wrote up my resignation, and I made it effective for 2 weeks. Then I started thinking, wait a minute, you're telling yourself that you feel that this is hypocritical, but you're going to play it for 2 weeks. And then I just decided, no, if you're going to do this and you really believe in what you're saying, you need to leave effective immediately. I got my box, packed my stuff, and I was out of there. Because, man, I just didn't think it was fair to all of the other people that I had to tell, you had to take this stuff out of your videos because this is BET policy. You had to take this out. You had to take this out. But Sylvia Rome, no, we're going to let her go. And let me just make this clear. I love Sylvia Rome. Sylvia Rome was one of the first people to call me when I was at KYS, when I first got the gig at KYS. She came down. I love Sylvia. No problems with her. I still love. She's one of the biggest people in the industry back then, and she still is. But I don't think Sylvia Rome is any better than Joe Smo at the independent record label.
But she kind of like using that power though.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
what I mean. There are a couple of occasions where I've heard from numbers of people where she used that power just because she could.
But that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. It's like I realized that if I stayed there, because that's the other thing. Once they played that particular video, that's like the genie was out the bottle. And that's where you come with the uncut. Because I left in 1999, and I remember turning on BET late at night, and I saw all these.
That is right. It's like they went bananas after you left.
I saw all that stuff, man.
That's right. Yeah. And then that's where the story started to pick up steam about you leaving, and they wanted you gone because you were so religious because they wanted to play. See, I'm still there. You know what I mean? After you left, I'm still there. So I remember hearing those, oh yeah, you know, Greg was real religious and we want to be able to play some hip hop. We want to be able to play these videos. And of course, what was the video that Nelly got in trouble for with the credit card? Sliding the credit. I can't remember the name of the song, but it's something. Yeah, he said, he swiped the credit card down the crack. Yeah, so all that stuff, BET Uncut and Late Night and all that stuff started coming on TV.
But see, that's the reason.
After you left.
But that's the reason that I wrote the book as well. And that's also the reason that when I wrote my resignation, I had my administrative assistant, Tia Butler. I got to send a shout out to her too. I had her send it to everybody at BET. And the reason behind my leaving. Of course, like you said, Lorenzo, people make their own stories and they do their own thing. But that was the furthest thing. Because like this, I never would let my I'm a professional. You know, I would never let my religious beliefs get in the way of my job unless it's something that I just absolutely couldn't deal with. But this situation to me was just about hypocrisy. you know, I just did not think it was fair for them to give this preferential treatment to Sylvia Rhone, and I would be the person that I would have to justify that decision, and I just couldn't do it, and that's the reason I left.
You know what, brother? I applaud you for standing on your square, because what you did was you said, you know what? I'm not going to be a part of the hypocrisy. At the same time, they were about to unleash on you every person that you told no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come back to say, well, Greg,
Exactly.
you told us I didn't have to do this. Why is she getting preferential treatment? And now you got to respond to hundreds of people for one decision that they made because she threatened whatever the situation was on BET in terms of artists or advertising that she would spend, or the people that she know at major corporations that have advertising dollars on. She did something, and you know, I can't blame her for what she did, because she put $1 million into a video and she's got to recoup it. But at the same time, she put you guys in a precarious situation instead of just editing it and helping you do your job, in essence, helping her get where she needs to be. You stood on your square, bruh. Yeah. And I appreciate that, because there are a lot of people that would have just rolled off their back and look, hey, it ain't my place. But you were a man of your principle, and it's so hard to find people like that now. So I applaud you for what you did, bro. I didn't know this story, but to sit there and have the conversation with you right now, and for people to see this, and they say, okay, so that's what really happened. Somebody actually stood on their square and not sold out in a sense. So I appreciate that, bro. I really appreciate it.
But I also just want to just make sure people understand that I didn't leave BET as a disgruntled employee.
Right. It was also,
you know,
right.
I was angry and you know, mad. I left because I chose to leave. You know, I didn't have any problem with Deborah Lee. As a matter of fact, in 2006, I was her guest at the BET Awards because Gladys Knight was performing, and she invited me to be her guest. So I had no problem with Deborah Lee. I have no problem with Sylvia Rhone. Like I said, I have the utmost respect. I have no problem with Cindy McMood, who was my supervisor at the time. And she told me herself that that video was problematic and she didn't think we should play it, but she didn't stand up to Sylvia or Deborah Lee. Right. But I don't hold that against her. Right. You know, I had to make what was the decision that was right for me, something that I could live with, you know, and I just couldn't live with that. So I just left.
And it's a song that we don't even hear to this day. We don't even hear that song anymore. You know?
Yeah, but the video was dope.
It was a hot video. Yeah, it was a hot video because, you know, and I remember seeing Buster's with Janet. Like, you arrived, dog. But the song, we don't even hear it or see the video any longer, you know?
And the other thing that's so interesting about that, man, is like today, when you think about make you cream, make you have wet dreams, nobody would even care about that today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just real, just nothing. But back then, you know, at BET, when they told me what the standards and practices and the censorship policies were, and that I would be the person that would get in trouble, and I had to enforce those rules, and I took my job seriously, and I enforced those rules. Right. And the other thing I got to put out here, there's the other myth, Lorenzo, that's out there, that I was the person who wrote those rules. Greg Diggs Greg Diggs is the reason your video didn't get on, because he wrote those rules. Those rules and regulations were written before I set foot in BET.
And Jeff, that's right, with Jeff, right?
Yeah, and then Jeff Lee and Lydia Cole sat me down when I first started and told me what the rules were, and that it was my responsibility to make sure that they were enforced. And if anything hit the air that wasn't supposed to hit the air, it would be on me. It wouldn't be on the producers. It wouldn't be on anybody else. It would be on me.
Because Greg said we could do it.
What do you think? What do you think if you would have edited yourself, Greg? Would you have done that instead of had the record company? Just playing devil's advocate here.
Well, I would just have to say in this particular case, it would have been a.
You muted yourself. Say it again, Greg.
I did.
You're back. You're back.
Oh, now I was saying that would have been difficult to do because it was part of the hook of the song.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to make you cream, make you have wet dreams. So it would be impossible to do that. But I did have a situation with Puffy that Verna Dickinson helped me out with on One More Chance, that One More Chance video. We were supposed to do the world premiere of the One More Chance video. And there were several edits. And you know that song from back then, man, it was a lot of stuff visually and audio-wise that had to be edited in that song. So anyway, I sent it to him, and then I get Tia Smith Butler calls me and said, "Greg, Puffy's on the line."
Oh, God.
Like, and he's like, "Greg, man, what you trying to do to me, man? All these edits, what are you trying to do?" I'm like, "Well, Puffy, man, these are the edits that are been established at BET. I'm just doing my job." He said, "Yeah, man, but you gave me a break in some of these things." I said, "Nah, man, they got to go. It has to be that way. You got to do the edits."
Was this after Sylvia wrote or before Sylvia wrote?
This was before Sylvia wrote. This is One More Chance. I had been there maybe, that might have been 94, 95. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, he agreed to do the videos. They did the edits. When I got the video, because we were going to do the world premiere, I got the video that day and I watched it, and he left one edit out. And I was like, man, am I going to pull this off because of this one edit, or am I going to let it run because we'd already promoted
world premiere. Right, right.
Verna Dickinson walks into my office, and I explained it to her, and she said, "You know what?" She said, "Just one edit?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I could edit out for you." She took the video, she went to the edit suite, she edited it out, brought it back to me, aired the video, and case closed. Love Verna Dickinson, man. She saved the day.
Right. Some say this X makes the sex spectacular.
So we ended up doing the world premiere, but I was willing about to cancel the whole thing.
Right. That time, well, you were talking about 94, 95. Let's talk about like around 97, 98, 99 when Puffy he was everywhere. His songs dominated the radio. Did you have to, as far as a programming scheme or theme is concerned, separate his videos because they're worth so money, or you have to say, hey, I can't play this particular video because Puffy has this video with Mace on, but this other one with Mariah Carey, you know, it just so much Diddy, the shiny suits. What was your what was your approach to artist situation? Thank you, Eric. As far as that is concerned,
personally, I didn't have a problem with that. My whole concern was quality. You know, if it was a good video. I did think in terms of like just when I'm using Selector, that's another story that I need to tell too. But when I was using Selector, I did use it to separate certain artists. But sometimes there would be two Puffy type videos in a row, but that really wasn't an issue for me particular. But going back to the Selector issue, when I first got to BET, I was really surprised, man, that they were still programming their music videos manually. I mean, they would have these computers and they would be typing up the playlists and the formats, and they were typing how many times each video is going to play on each show, and every producer did their own programming.
Wow.
So I was just shocked that they were still doing, because you guys know back in the day, it was Select, RCS Select.
Yeah, RCS, right.
And so the first thing that I did, the first project that I did when I got to BET is that I took every single song that was in the music library and I inputted into Selector. Not to say that I was going to play them all, but I wanted to have them all in that database just in case something came up and I needed to play it. It took me about a month to do it, but I felt it was necessary because it's like they were in the Stone Ages. You know, I just couldn't believe that they were still playing videos manually. So I implemented the Selector system for BET.
Wow.
And boys and girls, for those that don't understand what Selector is, it's a program that will allow us to schedule music in a manner in which is consistent all the time, based on the way that we program it, and based on what Greg is saying. These folks are just writing down and writing this thing down on a scribble pad.
No, they did have a system, but I'm just saying it was archaic.
Right. In comparison to Selector, of course.
I'm coming from radio.
We're coming from radio.
There's a better way to do this. You know, why are y'all writing stuff down? I can do this all by myself on the computer. I don't need all of this stuff. And that's the reason why I implemented it, because I knew it was more. And the other thing that's interesting, they went screaming and kicking like they didn't want to do it. But after like 3 months or so, they realized that it was a more effective way of programming, and everybody got used to it.
That's great. That's great.
Now, Greg, you've been a DJ, been a music director, video music director, satellite music director. You've written books. Lord, man. And you're writing movies too, bro?
Yeah, man. I'm really excited. Gil Scott-Heron, gotta thank him, man, because
you're right, brother.
He was the person that told me that
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
I mean, I don't think everyone. I mean, I'm shocked to hear that. Not surprised, but when you get that official cosign from a Gil Scott-Heron, I mean, you better write, brother. You better can just go on and write when you get those spaces and those times we can get alone and just write. You better write, and then sit down and pray and have Gil talk to you and communicate with you and go listen to some of his albums. You know what I mean? Maybe inspired by that. But I'm amazed, and I'm not surprised. But go ahead and continue to talk about.
You're talking to two actors too, just in
case.
Yeah.
When we came on, I was asking Eric, did he see my girl working on her film? And he's like, no, So I probably should be in Atlanta right now working on this film, but that's a story for another time. But tell us about the screenplay and whatever you can say, Greg.
Well, I wrote 2 screenplays. The first one is called Anacostia. That was the very first one I wrote.
You told me about that, right?
Yeah.
I dated a girl from Anacostia. Ooh, wing.
Aftershock is, to me, I think is actually more exciting and interesting because it's about the earthquake that happened in Washington, D.C. in 2011.
Okay.
And it was the first time that we had an earthquake here in over 100 years. So the premise of the story is that we have this rich millionaire, white, borderline racist, old woman who lives in this huge house, and this young black HVAC air conditioner repairman who has to go to her house to fix her air conditioner. And something happens where both of them end up in this very small utility closet in the basement together when the earthquake happens, and they're stuck inside this room together. And the conversations and the chemistry between these two characters, man, is just, I'm a movie guy, so this is the kind of movie that I would want to go see, even if I didn't write it, but just the racial things that came up, all of the different, and the other thing about this brother, he's a street brother. He has the ability to be professional in a professional setting. He knows how to be professional, but underneath, he's a hood rat. So he gets into this situation with this woman who is rich and old and white and prejudiced and racist. And they have this conflict, and then of course things evolve. But that's the premise of the movie.
Okay, that's what's up. So
are you shopping it, or are you trying to do?
Yeah, I'm shopping it to. Well, actually, both of them to several different streaming services. So I'm currently in the process of doing that.
Can you share what that process is like?
It's very difficult.
It
is. I mean, I'm quite sure. I don't have to tell you guys. I mean, you already
right.
People have had scripts that they haven't written 20 years ago and still haven't gotten them. I'm just fortunate that one of the Aftershock script is on somebody's desk right now.
Okay.
You know, I'm just waiting now for the final green light for that. That in itself, to me, is a blessing. You know, the fact that it is actually in one of these streaming services on somebody's desk, and I'm waiting for some kind of feedback from it. So,
well,
yeah.
And the reason why I asked, Greg, is because, you know, we may still have a few friends over at BET, and, you know, they do the BET streaming services, and there's so many different shows. And I remember during the film festival last year, we got it coming up, the Black Film Festival, there was so many people that got opportunities to shop their scripts and get shows with BET. Did you think about possibly pitching it to anyone with the BET Plus or the streaming channels?
Yeah, I actually, to be honest with you, I'm sort of in the process of doing it because I was mentioning it to Eric.
Right.
Working on this documentary with BET right now.
Okay.
So I can't really talk about that.
Right.
We're working on this documentary, and I'm trying to submit it to some other people. But I don't really want to go into a whole lot of stuff like that. But also, I'm working on another documentary as well. It's on PBS. It will be on PBS, and it's called DC Street Jocks Rock the House. And it's directed by, produced by this award-winning producer. Her name is Beverly Lindsay Johnson. She won an Emmy for one of her documentaries. But I'm a consultant on it because it's going to be focusing on the history of the DC street jocks and club DJs from the 1970s and 1980s. And it's going to air on PBS in the fall. And they brought me in to be a consultant on that. So I'm really, really excited about that because I think that's a story that has never been told before. You know, and Lorenzo, you hosted.
Yeah, no, it has been somewhat told to a certain degree because we had a big. I moderated a panel with a bunch of a lot of Washington D.C. club DJs and radio DJs, and of course, it was put together by Greg Diggs, and Greg asked me to moderate the panel. It was so much fun, and I learned a lot about the Washington D.C. club scene and how DJs went from the clubs to the radio. So it was quite interesting, and I think it'll make for a good documentary because people need to know the stories, you know, and someone like you needs to tell those stories because Eric can hear me often. You know, I'll say it again. Sometimes I get, you know, a little angry when I watch these hip hop documentaries. And Eric and we were in Virginia, you know, breaking hip hop artists and playing hip hop and pushing it and make sure commercial radio would play it on the radio. I had my own show, but then when these documentaries come out, they just mention Virginia. They don't even mention the stations or any of the personalities or any of the DJs that were responsible for pushing it. So I remember I was talking to Craig Davis and I said, Craig, what's your opinion on that? He said, the wrong people are telling the stories.
Right, exactly.
So I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's why you, Greg, you need to tell that story because you can tell it better than someone else. And it needs to be told. And you want to have that history written, you know? So that's why I was asking you about the book because I'm thinking about writing a book myself. Okay, yeah, all right. Why would someone read my story? Well, someone might be inspired by my story. You know what I mean? So
that's the same way I felt when I wrote my book. Like I really didn't think anybody would be interested, you know. But you know, you have a story. All of us have a story.
Right.
We got at least one autobiography.
Everybody.
Yep. Exactly.
And Bo Sampson is writing the book. You know,
I think it's done by now. I think it's done.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Bo has to say.
Yep.
He's had an incredible career, so I'm looking forward to that.
And what does Bo do?
Who knows? I don't think he knows.
Yeah,
I don't know, but we see him everywhere.
Yeah. So I mean, we ain't finished with you yet, Greg.
There's more.
It's one more thing. You it's behind you.
Oh man. Well,
all that art. Now you ain't buy that art. Where'd you get that art from?
The strange thing about it, man, when I'm just gonna be honest with you. When I was in elementary school, I had this crush on this young lady named Wanda Whitaker because she was beautiful, but she also could draw and paint, and I just admired her so much. So every time I saw artwork I always compared it to Wanda Whitaker, you know. And so I never thought that I could even do anything like that because I can't draw, you know, I don't, but I realized when the pandemic hit, I was bored. You know, I needed something creative for me to do. And so I had painted a painting back in 1996 that was an abstract painting. And I just decided to go to this paint shop, Michael's, and I bought some canvas and some acrylics, and I started painting. Something to do during the pandemic. Long story short, now I've painted over 50 different pieces. And so I'm in the process now of putting together an art show. So anybody out there that wants a Greg Diggs original, just hit me up.
Wow.
Because before I blow up. But
Get it now.
Get it now before I blow up. But seriously, I'm really seriously planning on doing an art show because I can do the abstract thing, you know, but I don't proclaim to be an artist like Wanda Whitaker or, you know, people on that level, but I can do this. This is Greg. This is me. And so anybody that appreciates this, you know, that will be my audience.
Well, I did. As soon as we came on, I think before we signed on the air, I said, yo, Greg, that's some cool art in the back. That's really nice. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was yours.
I knew it was going to be the end of the day.
I didn't. You know, I was like, wow.
But the weird thing about it, man, is that I didn't know I had this talent. You know, that's the thing that I find is so interesting at this season in my life. Before when I was younger, everything was music. I lived and breathed music. All of a sudden, the past 5 years, after I wrote my book, I started concentrating on writing. And then all of a sudden during the pandemic, this just popped up. And those are that were lying dormant inside of me all these years because I was focused on music. Right. And now once I unleashed that and opened up, now the writing is coming to fruition and now these paintings are coming to fruition. Because I never thought about painting anything. I never thought about that.
Now let me ask you this. Did you pray on it and then things that may have been blocking you over the years were removed? And then just opened up another part of your creative consciousness that you weren't aware of?
Well, I always pray. So
right.
Yeah,
but did you maybe something changed during the pandemic? You know, that could have opened up something different?
Well, I think what changed was I was locked in.
Okay.
You know, man, I was going crazy, man. You know, I needed a
man, Greg, I just gave you the alley oop. Just to slam dunk the power of prayer, man. Come on.
No, I mean, like I said, I pray all the time. So I wasn't
right. I'm joking with you. I'm joking.
But I'm just saying, during the pandemic, man, I really needed something creative to do.
Right.
You know, I really and the other thing, when I paint, I also listen to music too. So it's sort of therapeutic for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But it's beautiful stuff back there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And just leave a comment. Let them know what you think about it.
Hey, man, look, do we have to wait for the next pandemic before we unleash another one of your talents? I'm just asking, bro. I mean, the Spanish flu got to come back. So, Greg, what's next, man? I mean, because, bruh, you go from DJ, music director, video program director, writer, producer, artist. What's next? Why not?
Well, like I said, I'm really focused on my writing right now.
Okay.
And the documentaries I'm looking forward to doing. That's what my focus is right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that if someone looking into the business, is there any advice that you'd give them about getting into the music industry at this point in life?
I would definitely tell them to find somebody who is doing something that you like to do and try to get that person to mentor you. Because I can't emphasize enough how important mentorship is.
Right.
And once you become somebody mentors you, then once you achieve what you're achieving, then you give it back, pass it on to somebody else and mentor somebody else. Because I just think that's important, man, especially in our community. You know, we have to give back. And you see a lot of people that make it. They make it big. They do things. They're not thinking about dragging somebody else along with them, lifting somebody else up. Erica, you and I were talking about this on the phone, man.
Right.
I really have. I'm the type of person, man. I don't have a problem lifting other people up. I don't think that takes away from me at all.
Right.
For me to lift you up doesn't put me down.
Right.
So I tried my best to try to help as many people as I possibly can, because I just like going back to Donnie and Gil Scott Heron. I just know how they poured into me. And I want to be that type of person that I give back. So my advice would be, find yourself a mentor. And once you received everything you can and you accomplished and you reach the point, then you become a mentor. So that would be what I would advise people.
Well, Greg, brother, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to hop on with Lorenzo and I and talk about your life and your experiences in the industry. We wanted to, of course, bring people on that we personally know, that we know that are instrumental on the back end of the culture of what we love and we see every day. The foundation that was built back in the late 80s and the 90s. And we see the fruit of the artists that took advantage of that, and the people that so folks will never know who in the background. People watch BET for years. Remember back in the 90s, there weren't a lot of Black programming around. You had Martin and you had In Living Color. So in order for us to get anything that looked like us, we had to go to BET. And it was a daily thing. Big Tigger in the Basement. And, people still, I mess with Tig all the time. We'd be out, people run up on him. I used to watch you, because during those times, there wasn't a lot of Black programming. We had, like I said, we had Martin, we had In Living Color. What else did we have? We had
Living Single
and any stuff that Bill Cosby produced.
Right.
So it wasn't a whole lot of stuff. But we knew we could turn to BET 24 hours a day and we could get content. So, and folks didn't know who were in the background. Bruh, when I say that you were probably one of the most influential people in the culture at that time, absolutely, because we all tuned into it. Matter of fact, I remember when I got DirecTV. Y'all got BET? Because if y'all ain't got BET, I'm going to go with cable.
Yeah.
Remember that? Because BET wasn't being carried by everybody.
Right.
So if they won't carry in BET, we didn't get it. And then, of course, the cable people were like, well, God, we got to get BET. Us Black folks won't pick it up. So that's how important BET was. So thank you first and foremost, once again, for coming on the show. How can people find you on social media?
Greg Doc Diggs, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And also my book is available. The Musical DNA of Greg Diggs is available on Amazon.
Absolutely.
But let me just say to you guys, Lorenzo and Eric, man, I really appreciate the opportunity to tell my story on another platform, but I also respect what you all are doing, because one of the things that I would like to do is document history. And that's what you all are doing. You're documenting, you're bringing people on this show that, like you were saying, Eric, that don't get the exposure or the accolades that they deserve. So I really want to take my hat off to you guys, man, for what you're doing and what you're presenting right now. I have a lot of respect for, and both of you, man, just for the personalities that you are, the entertainers that you are, the professionals that you are, and what you're doing with this platform. So thank you for having me on here. I really do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate those kind words, and I also I said it earlier, but I want to say thank you again for giving me the opportunity to work at BET for 4 years. If it were not for you, if it were not me being in the right place at the right time, and then you reaching out to helping another brother out, like you said earlier, Donnie Simpson and Gil Scott Heron helped you. So then it is my job to do the same thing. When you said mentorship, it just reminded me of someone that I'm mentoring that needed some help with a contract. So I say, oh, let me text her right now to make sure she's doing well. So thank you so much. Your words reminded me of something that I need to follow up on. And people that are listening and watching this show that may need some type of mentorship from me or Eric. Eric now he works on the sales side, so there may be people that need assistance with sales. I'm working on the radio side. I'm at Star 94.5 in Orlando, and also a Hot 105 in Miami, and doing some other things, and aspiring to do more acting. So I thank you, because those experiences that I had working at BET, and especially during that era of music, which was so powerful during the 90s. That's why we love the 90s so much, because there was so much Black freedom. We were able to stand up and be proud to be Black, and show people how being Black and showing how proud we are to be Black, that Black is beautiful, baby. It's purty. You know what I'm saying? So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on because it's a part of the resume, and it helps with my stock. So without you, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. So I thank you.
How can they find you, Lo?
Oh, they can find what I just mentioned, Hot 105 and Star 94.5. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lorenzo Thomas, and on IG at Lorenzo IC. That's Lorenzo ICETEA.
Yeah, you can find me at Convo with the DJ on all of my social media platforms, and that includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Convo with the DJ. And of course, you can catch me on this little hip hop internet station. It's really worldwide, 100 Hip Hop and R&B FM every night, doing overnights, and on Saturdays from noon to 2, and on Friday night when DJ Ebony, the easy brother of New York.
Yeah, that's my man. That's
Thomas Lytell.
So
that's another story right there. I love that brother, man.
That's another story right there.
Love him too.
Hey, hold on for a second, fellas. I'm gonna put you in the green room, and I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking this out. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. Of course, we're going to make this thing official, and we'll be out here, and we'll see you again next Thursday.